I've been a general contractor for over a decade, and if I were you, I wouldn't hire me. This is like a magician revealing the secrets of the craft. Once you understand how the illusion works, you'll never see the show the same way again. And that's going to piss a lot of people off. They're going to swear that I'm wrong, that they don't do these things, but deep down, they'll know I'm just exposing the truth. Now you're probably thinking, if I shouldn't hire a GC, then what should I do? Well, don't worry, I'll give you the strategy, but first you need to understand the 5 reasons why I'm a real estate investor's worst nightmare. Starting with the dilution effect. Now, this right here is a profit and loss statement from my general contracting firm. $1.7 million of revenue that year. Pretty great, right? Honestly, not even my best year, but look at my bottom line. $56,000 is what I brought home. That's a 3% profit margin. Standard in the industry. Right. Disgusting. Here's why it happens. You get a picture a bartender working a New Year's Eve party. Everybody's like demanding a drink, arms are waving, it's total chaos. And you're standing there just trying to get a beer. Well, I'm that bartender, and you, the beer drinker, are just going to have to wait your dang turn. Now, you might be thinking, well, duh, you idiot, just take on fewer customers. And sure, I could, but only if I quadrupled the price of that beer. But let me break that down for you using my P&L. You see, every month I had to pay for each of the following about $1,000. Insurance, professional fees like bookkeeping, CPA, legal, office rent, marketing, and then you got to add interest to a line of credit, which I need to smooth out the big cash swings in this business. And then payroll, even when I'm running lean, that was $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Equipment, tools, utilities, vehicles, this, that, the other thing. All in all, it cost me about $12,000 a month just to keep the lights on. Now, let's look at an average project. $40,000 with a 20% markup stretched out over a 3-month span. That works out to around $2,500 gross per month per project. P.S. Gross means the money that I make before the keep the lights on expenses are paid. And I can hear somebody out there saying, well, I charge way more than 20%. And that's fine if you're doing high-end customer work for homeowners. That's the whole quadruple the price of the beer model. And that works too, but that's not what you real estate investors want. So let me finish the dang example. Now, I need $12,000 a month just to survive. That means that at least 5 projects need to be running concurrently just to cover the overhead. That's not including me taking home a paycheck. So tack on another 3, maybe 4 jobs just to pay my own personal bills. Plus, my kids love Disney World. But here's the kicker. As soon as one of those jobs wrap up, the revenue pipeline drops out. So I can't just sit back there and wait. I need to go get the next jobs lined up, which means I spend more of my time lining up the next 8 projects than actually managing the ones I have going on. Now, think about this. Do you think that a brand new customer that I just picked up wants to hear me say, oh, I can get that started in about 90 days once we finish these other projects? No way. You're going to go with the next guy that says he can start next week. So I have to be that guy. I have to go pee on the tree to claim the job, even if I'm already overbooked. And that, folks, is why I have way too many jobs to give yours the attention it deserves. I am diluted. By the way, it's not just GCs who face this dilemma. Electricians, plumbers, roofers, painters, they all face the dilution effect. But here's how you combat it. Never pay ahead. The paycheck is your power. Never give away the power. You got to set checkpoints up front, tied to completed work and time frames. If these guys are slipping, each checkpoint is your chance to cut and run. But here's the thing. My focus is not just divided. It's divided unevenly. And Mr. Investor, you are at the bottom of my priority list. And that's reason number 2 to never hire me. I am a cherry picker. Now let's go back to that bartender. Who do you think is getting their drink first? Your ugly ass or that pretty girl in the red dress? Exactly. you can't even get mad about it. Remember when I said that the average markup was around 20%? Average is the key word there. That means that some of these jobs were closer to 15% markup, while others were 25 or maybe 30%. Now, which job do you think is wearing the red dress in that example? Kind of funny how it works, right? Because my whole channel is about being a solo house flipper, tactically getting the best prices possible on construction work. And ironically, that just might make me the homeless-looking bearded guy sitting at the end of the bar in this example. Oh well, don't worry. You can prevent that. And I'm actually going to give you that tip right now. How to become more attractive to the bartender. Because above all else, what I really care about as a general contractor is serving my own laziness. That girl in the red dress, well, she wants a fancy cocktail. She wants it done just right. Well, screw that. I'd rather twist off a bottle cap, slide it down the bar, and that is construction in a nutshell. You want me to do floors, paint, maybe some cabinets? Perfect. I'll take it. I need some easy in my life. But you want to bring me a job that has floor plan changes, structural repairs, a scope of work that isn't nailed down yet? Ugh, that's Mai Tais, margaritas, and Manhattans. Way too much effort. Not only does it take more effort from me, who the heck am I going to find to do all those complex jobs? There is a limited supply of guys that can deal with smart guy work. It's way easier to find these laborers who can change out doorknobs. So those are the types of jobs that I want. So how do you fight it? How do you make sure that yours is the job that's getting cherry picked? Well, avoid complex projects. Avoid these massive floor plan changes or big structural moves. Now, if you must take them on, simplify. For example, let's say that a bathroom floor is all rotted out, structural repairs. Well, instead of dumping the structural mess on the contractor, let's break it down into parts. Here's what I need you to do. 3 jobs. I need you to demo the current bathroom, pull the floors off, and then you're going to reinforce the floor joists that are in there. And then I just need you to put it back together. Throw some subfloor on there and some new tile. You see how I broke that down into simple steps instead of one complex job? Because here's the truth, guys. Complex jobs get complex pricing. All right, by now, you're probably thinking, gosh, contractors suck. Don't worry. There is an antidote to all this madness. The one thing that you can do to flip the power dynamic, and we are getting there. And also, guys, I know that we're having some fun here, but I really do need you to understand that these are the realities that contractors face. Just look at a river. Ever wonder why they're not straight? Well, it's because every time the current hits a rock, it diverts around it. It finds the easiest path forward. Water always flows in the path of least resistance. And that's life, and that's business. So learn to work with it, or at least understand it so you can effectively divert it. And these 5 reasons you should never hire me are the way the water flows naturally. But these contractors are not the swindlers I'm making them out to be. They're trying to swim against the current, trying to do right, trying to put long-term relationships in front of short-term gains. Put you first, paddle in with everything they have. And it's not always all bad. When I was a GC, I was doing like 50 projects at a time, doing $5 million in revenue at my peak. And sure, I did deliver some great projects to some really happy customers. I was hiring literally hundreds of subcontractors a year. I'm telling you, all these forces that we're talking about, your contractor is facing. And that's how I know without a doubt, these are the forces that any contractor you're hiring is facing. And just put yourself in their shoes for a second. They have to make the choice, make a customer happy or put food on my family's plate. What would you do in that situation? All right, now I'm not done bashing myself just yet. We have a couple more reasons that you should not hire me. And this one I call the hot potato. This is like when your hypochondriac buddy goes to the doctor and says, "Hey, doc, I've had a headache for like months and I'm pretty sure it's a brain tumor." And what the doctor wants to say is, "Why don't you shut up, toughen up, it's just a headache, dude." But they can't afford to do that, because what if it is the 1 in 10 million case? So instead, you're getting thousands of dollars in scans, you're seeing 3 different specialists, and you're taking some hard to pronounce medication. Not because you need it, but because the doctor just can't take that risk. And that's exactly how it works as a GC. The bare minimum might actually be the right dosage, but I couldn't stop there, because what if I'm wrong? Then I'm going to be the one left holding the bag. So when you ask me, do you think we could just repair or change out this electrical panel? My answer is going to be Nope, got to rewire this whole house, 12 grand. And if you say, hey, is there a way to reinforce this foundation? I'm saying, nope, you got to tear this house down. Let's build a new one. But first, you need to spend thousands of dollars on an architect for those plans. You get it, right? Now, the only way to fight the hot potato is to educate yourself. Knowledge removes fear. Now, I'm not saying you need to know how to build a house with your own hands, but you absolutely cannot lead with blind trust. You are the leader of this organization. And when you understand enough to ask the right questions, the whole hot potato phenomenon disappears. Okay, but here's the kicker. Yes, I'll overdo the stuff that's actually written into the scope. But who said the scope has everything in it? And this is what I call the scope illusion. Reason number 4 to run far away from me. Now, my wife just went to get her brakes done. And it was one of those sweet like Groupon deals, $50, get all your brakes done. We take it in. They say they're going to be done in a couple hours. 30 minutes later, call comes in. Hey, when we took those tires off, we realized that all 4 of your tires have no treads, your rotors are shot, and your battery is basically testing stranded on the side of the road. And I'm like, none of your expert staff realized that when we brought it in. Instead, you had to lift it 6 feet in the air first. And sure, I could have had them put it back together and we take the van somewhere else. But guys, what do you think my wife would say to me? And that's how construction works. You agree on an initial bid, an initial scope of work, but I, as a general contractor, am not a home inspector. It's not my responsibility to come in there and find every little thing wrong with your house. However, chances are there are going to be additional things wrong with your house that prevent me from completing the scope of work that we agreed upon. And I bet you already guessed it. Those little obstacles have a hefty markup. Now, your weapon of choice against this scope illusion, an incomplete scope of work, is financial contingency. You think a project is going to cost $30,000? Well, you better prepare for $40,000 because things are going to come up. And when your back is against the wall, you will always make the wrong decision. Now, when a change order comes up, your response can be something like, well, actually, you know what? I have a couple guys that I work with that specialize in just this type of work. I don't know how they get such crazy low pricing, but I think I'm going to have them come in. Why don't you, Mr. Contractor, just go ahead and finish the scope of work that we initially agreed upon, and I'll handle the extra stuff. Boom. That financial contingency is your power. And that, guys, is control, a hallmark of the solo house flipper model. But hey, don't worry, because there are actually 2 different ways you can pay me as a general contractor. First, there's cost plus. I'll give you my markup. Let's say it's 20%. That means that every dollar that I spend on your project, you'll pay me back $1.20. Subs, material, equipment, dumpsters, permits, all of it. Or the other way is we could agree upon a bid price for a specific agreed upon scope of work. I tell you the bid is $50,000. That is exactly what you'll pay until something else comes up. Then it's a change order, and you know the story on change orders. Now, here's the thing. Each of these pricing models leads to the same thing. You lose, I win. If we go cost plus, my incentives are simple. Hire the best subs possible, the ones who don't need me to babysit them all day. Buy the most convenient materials possible, and basically spend money on anything that makes my job easier and uses less of my time. Problem for you is those choices all inflate the base cost. Bonus for me, it also increases my plus. It kind of makes me like a state employee who's spending the whole day on the phone with my mom, just milking hours, collecting those bennies. By the way, bennies means benefits for those of you who didn't grow up with a state employee as a parent. No matter how bad these guys are, you can't fire them. Union contracts. Okay, so I guess we're going with bid. Well, I'll tell you, if we do, your project will certainly have my attention. I'll have one clear goal. Get that project done as cheap as humanly possible. Only caveat being I can't cut obvious corners because that will come back to bite me. But what happens when the budget gets really tight? What about the stuff that maybe you'll never notice? Ugh, the moral dilemma. What will I do? What would your contractor do in that situation? You see, accepting a bid is like paying good money for a photo op with Aquaman. But instead, you get the wish.com version. So which pricing method should you accept? Well, here's the rule that I follow. 99.9% of the time, I only accept bid prices up front. nobody touches a hammer until I have a hard price with a scope of work attached in my inbox. Now, seriously, what the heck should you do to prevent all this madness? Now, real quick, I know that this was some lighthearted content, and gosh, I hope that I actually wasn't that big of a swindler when I was a general contractor. But the reality is that these are the dilemmas that any other contractor face on a regular basis, and they're hard to overcome. Even the best, most moral person you know will eventually come face to face with this decision, pleasing you versus putting food on their family's plate. You need to understand that. Now, to battle this, you really have 4 options in front of you. First is to DIY the work, grab a hammer and do it yourself, which you may be tempted to do after hearing all this crap. And it is a great strategy. That's how I got started. That's how a lot of other investors that are successful that I know that gotten started. But it's not necessary. It also has a very large downside that you can only really responsibly do one project at a time. I do think that you should always be ready to do some DIY if times get tough, and that's helped me through a lot of hard times and hard projects. But I don't think that should be the lifeblood of your strategy. So next, we have hiring your own crew, legit W-2 employees. Sounds great until they start making mistakes and you have to pay for them. And that won't take long, by the way. So let's move on to number 3, which is taking the information that you gathered here and to hire and manage the crap out of a general contractor. Now, at this point, you're going to know all the tricks they have up their sleeve and how to combat them. And as a refresher, that's 1, you need to set checkpoints up front tied to work completed and timeframes. Number 2, complex jobs get complex pricing. So break down complex jobs into simple steps. Number 3, never lead with blind trust. Number 4, always have a financial contingency. And 5, only accept hard bids with a scope of work attached. Now, there is one final trick that I've been keeping from you, the most important one of all. You see, as a general contractor, I have a hidden agenda. It's to make sure that I become your total crutch. You never dream of being able to do what I do. You're relying on me. You need me. I hide contractors from you. I explain everything in complexities, using as much jargon as humanly possible. I make sure that you only know what you need to know to continue to pay me. I bring you the fish and hope like hell you don't become the fisherman. And that, guys, is the cycle that you cannot afford to get yourself into. And that is the reason that even if you find a great GC and really know how to manage them, it's better to take the 4th option, which is what I call MIYing. Manage it yourself. You become the GC. You recruit the subs and manage them directly. Then you learn. You hold the cards forever. Once you have these skills, you will be able to make money at will in real estate. You got to take the time to learn by watching videos like this or taking courses or reading books and so on. But then you have to put it into practice. You got to fish because knowledge times experience equals skills. And skills, guys, are the true asset in this and any other business. So let me teach you exactly how you can act as your own general contractor. And I actually made a whole video for you. Check it out right here. Guys, thanks for hanging out.